Yeah, well, Yamlinda, I pay my respects to the traditional owners for this country and thank them for this gathering here today on their country. And thank each of you for being here in strength and solidarity with the Warlpiri and all the families of Yuendumu. My name's Yuendumu McCarthy. I'm the Senator for the Northern Territory. With me is Senator Sue Lyons, the Senator for Western Australia, and also Senator Pat Dodson, a West Australian Senator as well. There are many senators who would want to be with us. They are in the Senate at the moment. It's only the Senate sitting. The House of Reps is not sitting. But the thoughts, certainly of Linda Burney and other colleagues, are with us here as well. I just want to talk, if you can just let me talk straight to the Warlpiri families first. I just want to say to the families there at Yuendumu, I'm really sorry for your loss. I'm really sorry for what happened. From my families in Warlpiri, for the Yanyo, Garo, Mara and Gurangi peoples, we're with you in solidarity and strength. And we call on the strength of country to be with you and bring you peace in your hearts right now. We're all feeling for you right across the Northern Territory and right across Australia. And we just want that sense of strength and love to come there with such hurt and hate that's going on across our country at the moment. What has happened should never have happened. And there are so many questions that must be answered, demand answers. So many questions. And all Australians are wanting those questions answered in support and strength of you, the families of Yuendumu. I have more to say, but I'd like to just pass to my colleagues first. To Senator Pat Dodson, who worked very closely with the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody. Over to you, Pat.
I too like to acknowledge that we stand on the land of the Ngunnawal Warlpiri peoples, and we come because another Aboriginal life has been needlessly taken. A few weeks ago, an Aboriginal woman walking on the streets of Geraldton was killed by police, shot and killed by police. And now we have this young man in Yuendumu shot and killed by police. The use of guns is becoming part of the culture of policing. What is not evident is that the training for police officers as to how to handle situations when there are adverse circumstances or when they feel threatened. It's hard knowing what all the facts are when we're so far away. And I've listened closely to the messages from the families in Yuendumu. It was only a few weeks ago that I was talking with Mr. Harry Nelson at Uluru when the clone was being closed. I know the family very well. I've worked for many years for the Central Land Council. In these circumstances, the lack of information is the cause of much suspicion, the cause of much fear, anger, and obviously hatred. And they're the hardest things to deal with. And it's terribly, terribly important that the families receive their own independent person to help them work their way through the inquiries that we know will take place by the police, by the IAC, possibly by the Ombudsman and the coroner. But the families themselves will need to have someone in whom they can place their trust in order to ask the hard questions. Why did this occur? Why were the health people taken out of town? What was happening in the cells when this man was removed from his home to the cells? And why did it take so long for relief to come in the way of medical assistance? There are a lot of other questions that will need to be asked in the inquiries going forward, and I'm glad to hear that the Territory Government and the Police Commissioner of the Northern Territory has promised to these families that there will be transparency, there will be honesty, and there will be integrity in the way they conduct the inquiries. And that's something we should hold them to. Hold them to that integrity and transparency. Why are there 30 police officers running around Yuendumu at the moment is beyond me. It's totally beyond me. And if, as Mr. Nelson says, they are in fact spreading lies about to other staff people about their risk of being in the place, then that really throws up another serious question of how much communities like Yuendumu have become institutional ghettos, lacking in support from governments of all persuasions, territory, Commonwealth, state. It's true of Western Australia and many of our remote communities, as it is of the Northern Territory. You go and visit, there's razor wire, barbed wire around the fences of the homes where the white staff are housed. You'd think you're in some third world country. This does not augur well for relationships in these places. So these places have become institutional ghettos. They become remote from the eyes of the public. And so the death of a young man has to bring not only the relationship between the police and the community, but the broader relationships of the provision of services, quality of life, education and housing and supports that these communities need. I hope good will come from this. I hope that the families will get the support they need, and that I hope that the messages you yourselves are sending by being here brings some comfort to those families to know that they are not alone, that this death will not go unanswered, that this death will demand reform in the policing system and in the quality of services and health, particularly into these places. I thank those who are organising the focus for today and for future days coming. I thank my colleagues that are here. And I know many others would love to be here, but we represent, I think, a great degree of passion for this area. But there has to be, seriously, transitional change to the nature of these communities. Otherwise, more poverty and the growing dependency on welfarism will only increase. And with that poverty comes frustration, anger, and the lack of hope. So I hope today we send hope to the community and let them know the truth, that we will seek out the truth and hold accountable the inquiries to take place. Thank you.
much. As Malandiri said, my name's Senator Sue Lyons. I'm a senator from Western Australia, and I acknowledge that we meet on the lands of the Ngunnawal people, and I pay my respects to any elders with us today, elders past and present and future elders. I first want to talk about hope, and it is hard to talk about hope, but when I saw those three women, those young women standing up there, speaking so passionately and so proudly, I know that there is hope for all of us when we hear that passion from those young women. I'm a non-First Nations woman. I live in Western Australia in Perth. I live on the lands of the Noongar people of the Whadjuk Nation. My granddaughter is Gidja. Her family was stolen from Warnum, and her family, her First Nations family, live in Geraldton. Miss Joyce Clark was a family friend and related to her nephews. And as Patrick just told us, the hurt in Western Australia over the shooting within minutes of the police arriving to assist that woman, her family called the police to help. Please come and help us with Joyce. And within minutes of the police arriving in Carlu, in a suburb in Geraldton, Miss Clark was dead. Miss Jew's family, who one of the young women spoke about, they're also from Geraldton. The hurt, the passion and the anger from First Nations communities right across Western Australia is very strong, and I know they stand with Yuendumu. And tonight there will be a protest outside the Parliament in Western Australia at 6 p.m, and I've been urging my colleagues to come. When I read and I heard about another police shooting, I felt utterly helpless. I really did. I don't know what the answer is. There's a legacy. As Patrick says, it's almost what police are now doing. And do we really need another inquiry to tell us this needs to stop? We know in Western Australia that I think the police do half a day on cultural training, half a day. And yet most of their interactions are with First Nations people. So I would urge police, governments to now really stop talking and acting. Talk to First Nations people. Put the solutions in place. There is no way that these two young people, and it is largely young people, when I think about Miss Jew, when I think about Miss Clark, and when I think about the young man in the Northern Territory, these are our young people that are being taken, and it really has to stop. And I stand in solidarity with all of you, with his family in the NT, and I call upon our governments at whatever level to stop this violence against First Nations people. Thank you. Just while we're waiting, we've also been joined by Senator Tim Ayres. He's a fairly new senator from New South Wales. And his first speech to the Parliament, he speaks passionately and with great heart about his relationship with First Nations people where he grew up in New South Wales.
I just want to thank you for showing your solidarity with Yuendumu, and I hope that you take the messages from the community into there. I know that we have a lot of people who would like to speak, but sorry.
Thank you, Hayley, and we'll head back to the Senate, but stay strong, and thank you for the support that you're giving the families of the Northern Territory, but in particular Yuendumu, but also Central Australia. Thank you.